Hey, it's time for TV Skywriter. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to TV Skywriter. I'm Patricia A. Murray, your host. I publish the Durham Skywriter, that's Durham, North Carolina's online community paper. You can read that at durhamskywriter.com. And today on TV Skywriter, I'll be talking with Kate Fellman. She is the program director of the You Can Vote project. And that's something that's going to happen, a really big workshop's happening tomorrow, right, Kate?
Right. We are meeting at 10 a.m. at First Presbyterian Church.
Okay, well, let's start from the beginning. And please tell us what the You Can Vote project is all about.
Well, the You Can Vote project started in response to the 2013 House Bill 589 that, as many of you probably know, limited voting for our citizens of North Carolina. It makes it more complicated by cutting early voting by a week. I'm hearing feedback, so I'm trying to fix it. It requires a photo ID this year in 2016, and there's a workaround to the photo ID that we tell people about that the state isn't really telling people about. So basically, we train individuals, community organizations to work in the community to educate people on these complicated barriers to voting, to make sure that every citizen is registered at their correct precinct and knows what to bring and what not to bring to the polls on election day so they can successfully cast their ballot.
I'm wondering why early voting was cut by a week. Is that some kind of tactic to keep people from voting or what?
Well, minority voters and young people and people who move around a lot typically used early voting at very high percentages. And it seems to me that it's to limit this participation of this part of the election.
So the important thing is to make sure that you know that the early voting period has been cut by a week. And in fact, in the Durham Skywriter, I will give the exact date.
Yeah, it starts for the primary on March 3rd, so it's coming up really fast. And people need to know if they don't have proper ID, they can sign a waiver and say what the reason is for not having proper ID and still cast their ballot. Wait a minute.
See, I didn't hear about that. I did hear that you have to have a photo ID. But this affidavit,
you do.
So you're signing a form or just writing it out or what?
It will be a legal document. So if you don't have a U.S. passport or a state-issued photo ID, student IDs do not count, even if they're issued by the state. So if you don't have one of those and you're unable to attain one, you can go and say, I don't have the ID. Can I vote a provisional ballot? You just have to sign an affidavit. It is a legal document. And you can sign reasons like, I didn't have transportation, my work schedule didn't allow me to get a photo ID. There's a list of about 10 reasons that you can check. And then they will provide you a provisional ballot, and it will count unless you write something like, I morally object to photo ID and this law. If you do something like that, then it won't count. But if you state the real reason why you do not have a photo ID, your ballot will count right away.
No judgment calls will be made. I was worried when you said that somebody would give the reason being like transportation, whatever, and for the judge or whoever you would call it would say, the person on the polling booth would say, oh, it's not good enough.
Yeah, well, that's what was our concern as well. But we had a good conversation with Michael Perry at the Durham Board of Elections, and he said that as long as the reason is checked and it's not like Santa Claus told me not to get an ID, your ballot will count right away.
Now, I saw in the information that you sent me that now the word specific I felt was interesting when you said that they have to have a specific state issued ID. Does that mean it has to be a North Carolina state ID?
Yes. So there's so much confusion, and every ID can have a different expiration date. That's why we recommend people come and get trained with us if you're going to be working with voters. So it's a North Carolina driver's license. It can be expired for up to 4 years. Or if you're over 70, it can be expired as long as it was valid on your 70th birthday. So this is why it's so confusing.
So that I can repeat that.
Voters over 70 need to keep their photo ID and their driver's license for the rest of their lives. Now, your passport works, your military ID works, but not your student ID. So you have to look down the list and see if you have one of these IDs. And if you do not, or you cannot get one, you need to sign that affidavit.
So NCCU and Duke students should be aware of this, obviously. I mean, they need to be aware of it.
Definitely. We have teams at both schools that are working to educate the students. I was just making a handout for NCCU.
Oh, wonderful.
Right before we
talked. Now, when it comes to the state ID, you did say driver's license, but...
Yes, your North Carolina driver's license. Now, if you just moved to the state, your out-of-state ID will work for 90 days. So if I register to vote right now, and I just moved here from out of state, my out-of-state ID will work for the primary, but not for the
now in Illinois, where I come from, there are so many people who don't drive. It's such a huge city, not everybody needs to drive. So in Illinois, for $10, you can get, it looks exactly like a driver's license, except it's just used for identification. Do we have that in North Carolina where you can have a non-driver's license photo ID?
Yeah. Yes, we do. And it is about $10, but if you can't afford that, they will waive that for IDs to vote. So you need to go to the DMV, get a free ID, but you do have to bring proper identification.
Do you happen to know what?
Obtain that ID. There's a whole list on NC Photo ID, and ncvoter.org is actually the website we highly recommend to find your polling places, your precincts, to look up your registration status. It links all back to the North Carolina Board of Elections, but it's just much easier to navigate.
What is the deadline? I know you do want to train people tomorrow at First Presbyterian Church at 10 o'clock how to register people to vote, but what is the deadline for registering to vote?
So the deadline is February 19th for the primary. However, there's a court injunction in place right now that you will be able to register at early voting, but this could go away at any time. So that's why we're training people to get people registered by February 19th. And then if the injunction holds, then we can promote registering at early voting.
But we won't know that for sure.
Yeah, everything is up in the air right now, which makes it really hard because we have a primary coming up and we're talking to voters and everything could change at one day. So we're preparing people for the worst case scenario that you will not be able to register at early voting. And, you know, we're hoping for the best. And then photo ID is also being heard in federal court. They just wrapped up the court case last week. And so it could get overturned at some time, but we do not know when we will hear.
Now,
so we're preparing people with the rules we're living with. At the moment.
This You Can Vote project, is this all over the state of North Carolina or just?
I wish it was. Right now, we are in Durham, Wake, and Orange counties. We started in Durham in 2014, and quickly people wanted our very easy to read descriptions of when and where to vote and the upcoming ID requirements. So we had people coming in and we were training them left and right and doing what we could. But this year we have really purposely spread out and formed teams across the triangle. And we hope to support other teams around the state if we have the capacity.
Now, this might be too specific, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So I know that what's considered the main DMV office is in Northgate Mall. But can people go to that other DMV office on, next to Kroger, on Martin Luther King Parkway?
Yeah. Any DMV will work.
So again, you said that they should probably go to ncvoter.org and find out what to bring, because there's nothing more frustrating than waiting in line finding out you don't have the right paperwork.
Yes. If you're going to go get a photo ID, you make sure you do your homework first. You do not want to go there, wait, get up to the front of the line and realize that you don't have the proper documentation. I think it's a combination of two things, like a passport, but that counts as your ID to vote. So birth certificate, social security card. So you just need to go and take a look at the required items.
So Carlton would like to know what's driving the photo ID movement. It feels like
it's funny. It seems like about 30 plus state legislatures across the states, as soon as the Voting Rights Act was repealed, or some provisions of the Voting Rights Act were repealed in 2013, many states with Republican governors passed these stringent voter ID laws. And North Carolina's is one of the worst. So, I mean, you know, photo ID is proven to make it harder for minority voters to cast their ballots. A new study out of University of South San Diego came out this week that is on our website, youcanvote.org. And it's shocking how these photo ID requirements affect the turnout of Black and Latino voters.
It says here on the side, Carlton is, I'm going to invite Carlton in. I actually, Carlton's cool, so to speak. So let's let Carlton in to ask his question. I kind of get where he's coming from. Go ahead, Carlton. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well, so to speak, huh? Well, I'll take what I can get.
Well, I mean, I don't know you have your house and
I know, I'm just teasing. This is the question that's been in the news, and that is, what is motivating this registration requirement for voters? If you listen to some of the people, they would tell you that it is to help correct voter fraud. But then when you look at other people and you look at some of the statistics, it doesn't really appear to be any voter fraud per se that's identifiable. Not in any numbers that would, matter. And so, the other people say, kind of as you were hinting at, that this is really simply a cover for trying to keep people away from the voting polls, right, who maybe typically vote Democratic or vote more liberal than their conservative constituency. Which is it? I mean, is this really just a political move where there's not really a problem here, but this is sort of like our new electronic version of gerrymandering, where we're trying to control who ends up at the voting polls?
I think you're totally correct. This is a new form of Jim Crow, actually. Every citizen who is eligible should be able to easily register and cast their ballot. And these laws are really not designed to prevent voter fraud. In fact, absentee balloting, which could be wrought with voter fraud, is the only way besides signing this waiver that you can vote without photo ID. That's the one thing they made easier in this law. So it just
I agree.
doesn't add up.
I've lived in several states, and in one state in particular, where we had to show a photo ID when we went to vote. But the irony here is that the people didn't even look at it, right? It was like, I'm 61. It was like me waving an ID at the bar to get a beer. Nobody really looks at the ID, okay? So if somebody is going to commit voter fraud, clearly waving a piece of plastic with a picture on it is not going to disincent them from faking a driver's license, because there's nobody there that can really validate that the driver's license hasn't been fraudulently created. So it seems like we're making people jump through hoops for no real purpose here.
Yeah, it's like the old literacy tests to vote in North Carolina.
How many states have something like? I'm sorry. I was just going to ask, how many states have something like this at the moment, or are pursuing voter registration in this way?
The last statistic I read was over 30 states have implemented some form of voter ID over the past 2 years. And some of them are still in court, like Texas is. And so is North Carolina.
So it's really imperative that we make sure that everybody we know, and that's for all voters. I'm not just saying people who vote Democratic, whoever. If it's important to you, you're still going to have to show your ID, right? So, whatever
Yeah.
you are.
And we're nonpartisan. We educate and register everyone because we believe in maximum.
Yeah, I believe in a fair fight. So if it's important to you, if voting is important, make sure that your loved ones, your neighbors, your friends have those photo ID. I want to ask you about another thing about the photo ID. Okay. Now, you were saying how for certain people of a certain age, over 70, I think you said, their driver's license, they're fine for, forever, whatever. Now, the driver's license, North Carolina, they have to be North Carolina driver's licenses, right? Unless they're more than 90 days old. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm very concerned about work issue photo IDs, in which case I'm wondering if the word current should probably be added, because I want, how some people get the photo IDs and they hang them on their collars at the job. I'm wondering if those IDs are valid, if they list your address, and if work IDs are not valid.
It's only state issued or military ID, veterans ID, or passport.
Okay. Because I'm wondering if in any states, if worker IDs are valid. Because in Chicago, you can use your worker ID for a lot of things. I don't know about voting. It's a required when I was there. So we should know then it has to be state issued.
Yeah, but then it's specific state issued. So a state issued employee card or a state issued student card. Those don't apply.
I got you now. Okay. So people should go to Northgate Mall or the DMV at right next to Kroger on Martin Luther King Parkway. And if Alvin's still here, he wanted to come in, and I told him to wait just a second. I don't know you, Alvin, but if you have a question, try to come in again. I'll click you in if you'd like to ask a question. He's still here.
I was going to mention just one more thing, and I'll pop out so you can have a seat too. Kate, I just did a quick look because I remember this from a few years back. You're saying that military ID will get you, that's sufficient, right? So if you're on active duty and you got your military ID, that's good. I find it interesting because the U.S. military has roughly 65,000 people, active duty military, that are not U.S. citizens. So clearly, if they're, you don't have to be a U.S. citizen to join the U.S. military. And so clearly, if they're not U.S. citizens, right, they shouldn't be able to vote in a presidential election. So having a military ID doesn't guarantee anything.
Well, you need to be registered to vote, and you have to be a citizen to register to vote. So that ID is good for their military.
But that's what I'm saying, though, right? So that's what I'm saying. So if the person comes up and flashes a military ID, they get to vote. But the fact is that the military ID.
They look your name up. You go in the line from A to L and then M to Z, and they go down the list. And if you're not registered to vote, you just can't stroll in with the military ID and vote.
Okay.
You go to the right precinct, and then you're on the list.
Okay.
Okay,
fair enough. That's weird because I thought even registering to vote, I thought a military ID was normally good enough. It was just a weird question. Sorry, it's one of those kind of fall through the cracks kind of things, that we.
Yeah. The first two things on the voter registration form are you 18 years old by election day, and are you a U.S. citizen? And if you say no, you
gotcha.
Stop.
Okay, very good. All right, let me bow out and I'll make a little room here.
Oh, thanks a lot, Carlton. I'll probably see you later today on Blab.
Okay, no problem, guys. You guys have a really nice day. Good luck.
Thank you,
Take
Carlton.
Thanks.
Carlton's a good guy. He likes to drop in on different blabs and start different blabs. He has lots of information. He's very he's just a good guy to know on Blab. And Alvin, maybe he got shy. Oh, he left. Oh, bless his heart. Okay. It was his first day on Blab. Sometimes people, you see here on the right where it says first day on Blab, sometimes people drop in on all the Blabs on their first day. And sometimes they're very inappropriate because they're just on Blab for a lark and they felt strange, inappropriate things. So that's fine. So did you have anything else to tell us about this workshop? We should let them know that it's at 10 o'clock tomorrow at First Presbyterian Church.
Yeah. So it's going to be great. We've been doing these trainings for 2 years now. We have it down to best practices to engage with voters, give them correct information, make sure they're registered to vote, and tell them when and where to go. So we can train you. Anita Earls from the Southern Coalition for Social Justice will give us an update on the court case and when we can expect to maybe hear something. And then we're going to ask people who want to go out right away to places in the community with a trained, experienced captain to go practice talking with voters and handing out our orange cards that have all the information that they need on them. And we'll end it all with an ice cream social with our new partner, Ben and Jerry's, at the main library. The ice cream social will follow the training from 11 to 1
I do have a question for you. In 2012, I remember people were really trying to rally the troops and getting them registered to vote. So is it possible for just normal citizens to carry applications in their backpacks and briefcases, and when they encounter someone who is interested in politics but has never really bothered to register, can a normal citizen register their neighbor?
They certainly can, and we encourage that. We encourage that you come and learn how to fill out the form correctly. I can't tell you how many forms there's something missing. So when you register voters with us, we'll get you trained, we'll get you materials, we'll get you cards. You can sign up to work actual drives at indoor locations with community partners and schools, libraries. We'll be all over Durham in 2016. And when you volunteer with us, you kind of have an official brand. You can still keep registering on your own, but you can also sign up to do table events with us and other people who are really passionate about educating people on these complex
I'm wondering what kind of authority you have when you're working on your own. In other words, when you're registering people to vote, like if maybe you're on the bus and you just strike up a conversation,
buses.
But the person that's wanting to register right then and there, what kind of paperwork do they have to have so that this registration is taken seriously and is valid?
Well, there's the red required information on the voter registration application form. You need to make sure everything in red is filled out. We ask for voters to provide either the last 4 digits of their social security number or their driver's license number on that form. Even though it's optional, it helps the Board of Elections match you up and prove who you are. So fill out your entire name, even middle if you have one, either the last 4 digits or your social or driver's license number. And then we also ask for a phone number. It's not required, but if there's something wrong with your application, the Board of Elections can actually follow up with you to make sure that they can submit it and complete it, and you do get registered to vote.
That's really good to know. That's really, really, because I was carrying, I did have some applications with me. 2012, I didn't register anyone to vote, but I never ran into anyone. Maybe everybody I know is hip, I don't know. But I didn't happen to run into anyone who wanted to register to vote. But it's still a good concept to carry applications around with you, just in case.
Yeah. Just in case. But then just make sure you turn them in the proper time. And if you work with us, you'll have a place to pick up your materials and drop them off so that you know that they will get turned into the Board of Elections. And you can come pick up a fresh clipboard when you're ready to go out and talk to voters. Ride the buses with us. Say, hey, it's Tuesday. I've got a bunch of free time. I'm going to go ride a couple bus lines, talk to a bunch of voters, and then you can drop off all your materials with us. And you can come back when you're ready to do another shift.
One more question about.
We also train organizations and churches and anybody who wants to kind of do this and form their own little project or area or precinct. So if people are interested in getting training and owning a little piece with us, we can provide that.
I had another question, but it just escaped me about registering people to vote. I'll think of it later, and I'll call you about that, because I did have a couple of questions.
Great.
It's an interesting concept for me. With ordinary citizens registering people to vote. I think it's really awesome. I think it's super awesome. So tomorrow, everyone, the You Can Vote workshop, and get my notes here, starting at 10 o'clock, First Presbyterian Church. That's at 305 East Main Street. Plenty of parking, right, in the back?
There's parking in back, and then the city county lot you can park in
Nice. I didn't know
on
that.
Saturdays.
Okay, so 305 East Main Street. That's downtown Durham. You can learn about the new voting laws, like the early voting has been cut by a week. And isn't there something going on with the absentee ballots? What's going on with that?
We encourage people who may be intimidated by the ID requirements or the affidavit or can't get it out to vote on election day or early to vote absentee. It's a two-step process. You have to request your absentee ballot, and then they mail you your ballot, and you need to get it signed and filled out and have 2 witnesses. It's a little complex, but we recommend it for anyone who might be intimidated by the poll workers asking you for ID or signing that affidavit.
Well, back home.
But you don't need a photo ID.
Back home in Chicago, where a lot of elderly people live in like high-rise, lower income projects or whatnot, a lot of them vote absentee because it's really hard getting on the buses, and very often it's hard to do the walk. Because in Chicago, now it seems that everybody in Durham has a car except me, but in places like Chicago, a lot of people don't drive, and that absentee voting is really a very, very big deal. And even for our area.
Yeah, a lot of nursing homes, we go in and they can request their absentee ballots. They just need to know that it costs $1.09 to mail the ballot back into the Board of Elections.
Okay, that's good to know. That's very good to know. And be sure to check ncvoter.org. That's what I wanted to ask you. A lot of people there are these myths about who can vote and who cannot vote in terms of people who maybe served in time in prison and whatnot. So there are a lot of myths that should be dispelled. And I hope they're going to be dispelled tomorrow during the workshop. I hope is that going to be addressed?
Exactly. The only requirements to vote in North Carolina is that you are a citizen, you are 18 years old, and you are not currently serving a felony conviction and you're done with all of your terms of your parole. So once you're completed with your felony sentence and any fines owed, you can re-register to vote and your rights are all restored. There is no IQ test to vote. You just have to be a citizen. You need to be 18 by November 8th. And you need to be not currently serving your felony sentence.
So again, that's tomorrow. The You Can Vote workshop, First Presbyterian Church, 305 East Main Street. And it'll go until what, noon or 1?
So the training formally will be from about 10 to 11:30. Then we'll send some teams out to start working with voters and having those conversations. We need to have about 100,000 conversations with voters this year. So we hope that everyone will come be part of this army of volunteers. And then we'll have our ice cream social across the street at the Durham County Library from 11 o'clock until 1 o'clock.
Wonderful. Ben and Jerry's. They have good politics.
They do.
And good ice cream.
Good ice cream.
Kate.
Free ice cream for the whole community tomorrow.
Kate Fellman, thank you so much. You picked a good day. I mean, tomorrow's going to be a busy day, but it's still going to be a very good day to get out there. And for those who will not be going to the parade or the Cub Scout Derby race, please come out to this You Can Vote workshop. Very, very important. Will you have more than one workshop, or is this pretty much it for this season?
So we will have trainings around the triangle and hopefully beyond throughout 2016. We just had a training in Chapel Hill on Sunday, And in April, we'll train the Latino Coalition in Greensboro, but we will also be holding trainings in Durham, Wake, and Orange for the remainder of 2016.
I assume you're forming some kind of a partnership with El Centro Hispano for the Hispanic voters in Durham, I hope?
Correct. We worked with them in 2014. We have tables at their events. And we are welcome everybody back on board who wants to work with voters. And if you speak Spanish and you want to work with Latino voters in Durham or beyond, we
Wonderful.
need you.
Kate Fellman, thank you so much. If people want to get in contact with you, or if they want to learn more, maybe they can't go to the workshop tomorrow, but they still want to learn about registering people to vote, or just more about what you do, how can they get in contact with you?
You can go to youcanvote.org. You can sign up to be a volunteer. You can find out how to email or call us on our website and sign up for future events. We ask that if you haven't been through a training, you don't sign up for a voter education and registration drive. So you first need to come and get trained if you want to go out and work with us and represent you.
Thanks again for this.
Because we have honed the best practices to work with voters that have meaningful conversations that result in action of voting. So we just don't want people to go out, not trained, not having the correct information, since it is so complex.
And I think I should get some training. I think it was a nice gesture and effort on my part to carry the applications with me, but I think it would have been more helpful if I had been trained. So I think I will, point noted. With that, thank you so much, Kate Fellman, and thank you for watching, audience. This is TV Skywriter. It's an experiment on Blab. I'm really enjoying it. People like Carlton, they drop in and ask really pertinent questions, and that really adds to the flavor of the show. I think it's a wonderful platform. So with that, I'm going to tell you that I am working on the February issue of the Durham Skywriter. It's not too late to get in your information. It's a living, breathing website, so I'm rolling in the new information over the old information, replacing the old with the new. And also, for those who want to register people to vote, now I know the Skywriter has been very useful in past campaigns. A lot of people, I don't know if you know this, Kate, a lot of people have been using the Durham Skywriter Let's Go page. That's a calendar events page. It's pretty extensive. So a lot of people use the events that I have listed on Let's Go, and they attend those events and register people to vote there. Yeah, so that's a pretty good idea.
I will make sure we add that.
And of course, at the big parade, the Martin Luther King / Black History Parade is tomorrow at noon. You know that. Yeah, so I hope people will be out there as well, registering people to vote. That's a great place. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And with that, I'll say goodbye for now, and be sure to read the Durham Skywriter at durhamskywriter.com. Get in contact with me if you want to be interviewed. I want to be able to do TV Skywriter at the drop of a hat. If you have something going on and you're, this is for local people. Now, my regular show on Sundays, I interview people from around the world. But for these shorter weekday versions, I want people who are local, who have issues and just things that they want us to know about. Just get in contact with me at Durham Skywriter on Twitter, or just call me. My number is in the Durham Skywriter, and just let's talk. Let's get this information out. It's very, very important, very vital to our community. And with that, I'll say goodbye for now. So long, Kate. This is your first time on Blab, and I hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
We'll see you soon.
All righty.
Bye.
And that is it for Kate. And this is it for me. Again, read the Durham Skywriter, durhamskywriter.com. And with that, have a beautiful day. I hope to see you tomorrow. Ciao for now.